Hello, children of Marlcross Primary. Welcome to the 9 o'clock news with me, Miss Begum. What was that? Oh, we've had breaking news just come through. A young girl named Little Red Riding Hood had a terrible encounter with a wolf, and we are lucky enough to have the opportunity to talk to her in the studio. Little Red Riding Hood, please welcome and sit on my Little Red chair.
Good morning.
So, Little Red Riding Hood, it is a pleasure to have you in our studio. Can you please tell us what actually happened?
Well, I was trying to see my granny who lives in the woods because she's been sick and I wanted to take her a basket of food. But before I could get there was a wolf in the woods.
Oh my goodness me, you must have been absolutely terrified. Tell me, how was you feeling when you saw this wolf?
I was so scared because I've always been told not to talk to strangers, and he was trying to see where I was going and find out what was in the basket, and I just ran away because I was so frightened.
Oh my goodness me, I really do, I have to say, an encounter you must have had, what an experience. I have to say, we do have a reconstruction of your story, which we will now show to you. Over to you.
No humans or animals were harmed during filming. Actors' identities have been hidden for their protection. Once upon a time, there was a little girl who lived in a village near the forest. Whenever she went out, the little girl wore a red riding cloak, so everyone in the village called her Little Red Riding Hood. One morning, Little Red Riding Hood asked her mother if she could go to visit her grandmother, as it had been a while since they'd seen each other. "That's a good idea," her mother said. So they packed a nice basket for Little Red Riding Hood to take to her grandmother. When the basket was ready, the little girl put on her red cloak and kissed her mother goodbye. "Remember, go straight to Grandma's house," her mother cautioned. "Don't dawdle along the way, and please don't talk to strangers. The woods are dangerous." "Don't worry, Mummy," said Little Red Riding Hood. "I'll be careful." But when Little Red Riding Hood noticed some lovely flowers in the woods, she forgot her promise to her mother. She picked a few, watched the butterflies flit around for a while, listened to the frogs croaking, and then picked a few more. Little Red Riding Hood was enjoying the warm summer day so much that she didn't notice a dark shadow approaching out of the forest behind her. Suddenly the wolf appeared beside her. "What are you doing here, little girl?" the wolf asked in a voice as friendly as he could master. "I'm on my way to see my grandma, who lives through the forest near the brook," Little Red Riding Hood replied. Then she realised how late she was and quickly excused herself, rushing down the path to her grandma's house. The wolf, in the meantime, took a shortcut. The wolf, a little out of breath from running, arrived at Grandma's and knocked lightly on the door. "Oh, thank goodness, dear. Come in, come in. I was worried sick that something had happened to you in the forest," said Grandma, thinking that the knock was her granddaughter. The wolf let himself in. Poor Granny did not have time to say another word before the wolf gobbled her up. The wolf let out a satisfied burp and then poked through Granny's wardrobe to find a nightgown that he liked. A few minutes later, Little Red Riding Hood knocked on the door. The wolf jumped into bed and pulled the covers over his nose. "Who is it?" he called in a crackly voice. "It's me, Little Red Riding Hood." "Oh, how lovely! Do come in, my dear," croaked the wolf. When Little Red Riding Hood entered the little cottage, she could scarcely recognise her grandmother. "Grandmother, your voice sounds so odd. Is something the matter?" she asked. "Oh, I just have a touch of cold," squeaked the wolf, adding a cough at the end to prove his point. "But grandmother, what big ears you have," said Little Red Riding Hood as she edged closer to the bed. "The better to hear you with, my dear," replied the wolf. "But grandmother, what big eyes you have," said Little Red Riding Hood. "The better to see you with, my dear," replied the wolf. "But grandmother, what big teeth you have," said Little Red Riding Hood, her voice quivering slightly. "The better to eat you with, my dear," roared the wolf, and he leapt out of bed and began to chase the little girl. Almost too late, Little Red Riding Hood realised that the person in the bed was not her grandmother, but a hungry wolf. She ran across the room and through the door, shouting, "Help! Wolf!" as loudly as she could. A woodsman who was chopping logs nearby heard her cry. He ran towards the cottage as fast as he could. He grabbed the wolf and made him spit out poor grandmother, who was a bit frazzled by the whole experience, but still in one piece. "Oh, Grandma, I was so scared," sobbed Little Red Riding Hood. "I'll never speak to strangers or dawdle in the forest again." There, child, you've learned an important lesson. Thank goodness you shouted loud enough for this kind woodsman to hear you." The woodsman knocked out the wolf and carried him deep into the forest where he wouldn't bother people any longer. Little Red Riding Hood and her grandmother had a nice lunch and a long chat. The end.
So, Little Red Riding Hood, from this experience, have you learnt anything that maybe you can share to the public?
I need to remember to not walk alone in the woods and listen to my mum when she tells me to go straight there and not talk to anyone I don't know.
That's very, very useful information. Thank you very much for coming to our studio. Give it up for Little Red Riding Hood. Thank you for watching our news. Remember, do not talk to strangers. Stay at home, protect Malcross, save lives. Bye!
Thank you. Quickly there, the water's running.
Oh no! Hello, children. Sorry. A terrible encounter with a wolf. that old wolf, you know. Okay.
Yeah, it's great.
We've just had breaking news come through.
I knocked out the wolf.
You're with us right now. Liz Red Riding Hood, please welcome and sit down in my Liz Red chair. What was that? Oh. We've just got breaking news come through. A young girl called Little Red Riding Hood just had a terrible encounter with a wolf. And apparently we are fortunate enough to have her. I can't use that word. We are fortunate.
We are lucky.
We are very extremely.
I'm really sorry.
extremely-
I could hear it coming when you started saying fortunate.
Oh, we are fortunate. Right, okay. With breaking news just come through. A young girl called Little Red Riding Hood had a terrible encounter with a wolf. And we are fortunate enough. I can't use that. We are very lucky. We are very lucky to have the opportunity to speak to her tonight. Yeah. Okay. I'm not going to use that. See, that's the word that keeps coming in my head, by the way. Okay. We have breaking news just come through.
I'm really excited for all the activities. Oh, let me start that again. Blah, blah, blah. I was too quick. Right. I'm really looking. Oh my god. No, I can't do it. I can't remember how did I finish the. I'm really looking forward to Phil. Oh my good god. Right.
Our studio. Give it up for Little Red Riding Hood. For Little Red Riding Hood. For Little Red Riding Hood.